Hello, my friends, and thank you so much for coming to join me on this December 1st lunchtime live stream. It's nice to see you. How's everyone doing? I can't believe it's December 1st. That's freaking me out a little bit. Some people around here have had Christmas lights up since way before Thanksgiving, like since November 1st, which I think is kind of insane. I don't know how you feel about that, but I'm not an early decorator. So there's that. So back to the Franke case, everyone. For those of you who have been watching me for a long time, you know that we've covered the Franke case many, many times. In fact, since the very, very beginning of the Ruby Franke, Jodi Hildebrandt arrest. In fact, the first live stream that I did was Ruby Franke helped me understand, because I really had no idea that this woman existed. And the more that I learned, the less I wanted to know. Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm going to wait a second or two to see if some more people join us, because this is such a weird time for me to go live at lunchtime. But hey, it's Friday, so let's shake it up a little bit, guys, right? Tracy, I'm so glad you're here too. Thanks. Scott, did you enjoy your pizza? Scott was grabbing a slice of pizza. We do have the best pizza here in New York. I really don't know that anybody can argue that. If you think that where you live has better pizza than New York, let me know, but we might take you to the mat on that one, because we have like an amazing pizzeria on every corner in New York City. And sometimes you can get 2 slices for $1. So people think New York is so expensive, but it's really not. If you know where to eat and how to game the system, you too can get 2 slices for $1, or at least 99-cent slices in Times Square. Today's Friday, who knew? Sarah, I literally have to look at the corner of my screen to know what day it is or what date it is usually. But I did, for some reason, know that it's Friday today. Yes, not good afternoon. All right, you guys. Some people it's morning. Some people it's December 2nd if you're in Australia. So you guys are already into December. Crazy, huh? Well, if you are just joining me for the first time, I'm Melanie Little. I come to you with 30 years experience as a New York State trial lawyer in state and federal courts. I am also, now that these strikes are over, a working actor, legal commentator, now a YouTuber, and a mother of 5. So this is not a neutral channel. You're going to get my opinions whether you like them or not. And we do encourage respectful debate here, as long as there are no personal attacks on me, my other viewers, my mods, or each other, because you will be blocked, timed out. You don't want that. We do have a very friendly chat. We're known for our friendly, safe chat. So feel free to introduce yourself, and you will be completely welcomed by everyone here. But guide your actions accordingly, because the bullies are not allowed in here. This is a safe space. So if you are just joining and you have no idea who Ruby Franke is, let me give you a little backstory on this. Ruby Franke is what they call, apparently on YouTube, a mommy vlogger. She started a YouTube channel all the way back in 2015 with her husband, Kevin, and her 6 children. And the name of the YouTube channel was called 8 Passengers. I was not a fan of 8 Passengers. I didn't even know that this channel existed. And the videos that Ruby Franke posted had to do with the day-to-day life of her family and her children. Oftentimes, her videos included what she apparently thought was parenting advice. And it seems to me, from my viewers that were fans of or subscribers of the Ruby Franke 8 Passengers channel, that the videos that she posted got more and more offensive to many as time went on. She posted very embarrassing moments in her children's lives, including, I think, bra shopping, daughter's first period. Her son was punished one time. Her oldest son and they took away his bedroom and his bed, and he was forced to sleep on a beanbag for 8 months. She did such things as refuse to bring her 6-year-old daughter lunch at school when her daughter forgot to pack her lunch, because apparently it was her daughter's responsibility at 6 years old to pack her own lunch. She often vlogged from her car while driving. She would admonish her children. And what I think perhaps is the most egregious thing that Ruby Franke vlogged about was taking away Christmas from her 2 youngest children. So out of the 6 children, the 2 youngest were not allowed to have Christmas. They were not going to receive any gifts because in Ruby's eyes, they had done something wrong and they needed to be punished. And she was sort of gleeful when she did this video. And her husband, Kevin, who we're going to talk about today, was actually part of that video, as he was part of many of these videos that she posted, because this was a family channel. So I don't know when they were married. I couldn't find that information, but they have 6 children. I'm assuming this is a long-term marriage. Their oldest daughter, I believe, is 21. So I'm going to assume they've been married for at least 21 years. What's interesting about Ruby Franke is that her maiden name is Griffiths, and many of her family members also have YouTube channels. A couple of her sisters, and her parents have a YouTube channel called, I think, Grandma and Grandpa Griffiths. They've been eerily silent and sort of nowhere, I think, since this whole thing broke. I heard they were on a mission somewhere overseas. I don't know if they've returned to the US, but nobody's really heard much from Grandma and Grandpa Griffiths since this whole thing broke. At one time, Ruby Franke and Kevin Franke, because it was both of their channel, had over 2 million subs on YouTube, which is huge. That's a huge channel. And according to Ruby Franke, she made millions of dollars on YouTube, millions of dollars, by posting her family's most embarrassing moments. So can you imagine these children having to go to school and all of their classmates seeing all of their most embarrassing moments on YouTube? How emotionally devastating that must have been for them. Yes, and they did also, Aunt Bibi, I think you said, she also threatened to cut off the head of her daughter's toy with a pair of scissors. Her daughter was about 5 or 6. And because her daughter was cutting things with scissors that Ruby didn't like, or things of Ruby's that she didn't want cut up, or just maybe she was just cutting a paper around the house. I don't really know. But she said, if you do this again, and she filmed everything. The camera was in these children's faces 24/7. If you don't stop cutting things, I'm gonna, and she took her favorite little Beanie Baby or whatever it was, and she said, I'm gonna cut this animal's head off. And she was very gleeful, right? In her videos, you guys, like she took some sort of perverse pleasure in punishing her children, and it is gross. Kevin and Ruby have not been married since 2018. That's kind of impossible because that would only be 5 years. And they have a daughter who's 21. So they've been married for a long, long time, since over 20 years. And in 2022, the 8 Passengers channel was deleted from YouTube. And that's around the same time that Ruby Franke sort of hooked up with or became business partners with this woman named Jodi Hildebrandt. Jodi Hildebrandt was a licensed mental health counselor in the state of Utah. She also had been the therapist for, I believe, Ruby's brother. And she was the therapist for Ruby and Kevin's oldest son, Chad. And then she and Ruby became tight and started this business together, if you want to call it a business, called Connections. We've done several videos on Connections. You can find them in the playlist for Ruby Franke. And the two of them started this business where they would sell advice, videos, parenting, life coaching, alleging to help people with their marriages, with their parenting. And based on the videos that Ruby Franke posted on her 8 Passengers channel, I'm not really quite sure who would take parenting advice from her, but they did. Vesper, I know. YouTube, apparently, for a person like Ruby Franke, who had over 2 million viewers, made a lot of money. What we also found out during the course of these events is that the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints, which is another name for the Mormon Church, has a fund, and they fund family vloggers of their religion to post certain videos about the church that are positive. And I don't know whether Ruby Franke was funded at all by the church, but there are many other Mormon vlogging channels on YouTube that have exposed this whole thing. Come for me in the comments. It's true. Come for me in the comments. I have merch that says that, but it is true. Yes, this is true as well. Pamela, if you can find the video Ruby made about Christmas, you'll see Pam and her husband sitting on the couch next to her. We did cover that video in another live stream, so it is out there. So apparently, we're finding out now, Kevin Franke left the family home in approximately August of 2022 at the request of allegedly Ruby and or Jodi. And he was allegedly told by Ruby and or Jodi that he should leave the home and go away, and that it was the only way to save his marriage. There are a lot of other videos about a lot of other families that Jodi Hildebrandt has wrecked with her advice, and we're not going to talk about those right now. But what's undisputed is that Kevin Franke did leave the home in August of 2022, and apparently Jodi moved in, maybe, according to neighbors. In August of this year, August 30th of this year, 2023, Ruby Franke's youngest son, who's 12 years old, ran to a neighbor's house in Ivins, Utah. That is where Jodi Hildebrandt lives, in this massive $3 million home. And we covered this at length as well. The youngest son, who's 12 years old, escaped from Jodi Hildebrandt's house, and he ran to a neighbor's house asking for help and food. He was malnourished. He was starving. He was obviously traumatized. And he had wounds on his wrists and ankles that indicated that he had been tied with a rope and handcuffed in Jodi Hildebrandt's house. We covered the 911 call from the neighbor to the police, asking for police to come. We can hear the young boy in the background saying, "It's all my fault. It's all my fault." He tells the neighbor that his sister is also in the house. The police in Ivins respond to the house, and they find his sister locked in a safe. There's a lot of dispute about whether or not she was locked in a safe. I've listened to all the 911 tapes. They may call it a safe room, but it had a safe type lock on the outside of it. Okay, Sarah, thank you. Thank you for your super chat. I'm not sure what you're sending me, but I have some papers that I'm going to go through. Do you have the actual divorce petition? Because that's sealed. Ruby thought she was untouchable. Yeah, thank you, Bullseye. Skoda, I cried when the child said it was his fault too. That is a heart-wrenching 911 call. We did it on another stream, and it was hard to tears were flowing among the audience, me, everyone. I mean, it's very hard to listen to. So I'm going to trigger warn you if you want to go back and listen to it. Hi, Dave the Pious. I believe they had a temple marriage in the Mormon church. I believe you are correct, right? At the main church in Salt Lake City, which is this, as you're driving into Salt Lake City, you can see it. It rises up like the castle from Oz. It's the most beautiful building I've ever seen. Stunning, beautiful. I just don't know what year it was that they were married, but I know that they were married, I think, for over 20 years, at least. Hi, Naomi. Thanks for becoming a YouTube member. Welcome. I think you're going to like it here. Yes, I have that, Sarah. Thank you, though. So this young boy escapes. He runs to the neighbor's house. Police respond to Jodi Hildebrandt's house, which is this massive $3 million home in Ivins, which is a beautiful, beautiful place. And we looked at pictures of the house, and it's on a lot of property, and it is separate, maybe not a lot of property. I don't know what you consider a lot of property, but it's far enough away from the neighbors' homes, and it's built like a fortress, and there's not a lot of windows, and it looks like a prison, basically. So police respond, they rescue his sister, but now they realize that there are two other daughters that are nowhere to be found, the older daughters who are 16 and 14 at the time. So police learn that the two older daughters are in Springville, where the family home is of the Frankes, and it's 4 hours away from this home in Ivins. So, and we did a video on this as well. The police respond to the Springville home. They do not get an answer. They bang the door down. They do not find the girls. They find out somehow, I forget how, I think it's maybe Shari, the oldest daughter, tells them where one of the girls works. They respond to her workplace, and they look at closed camera footage, and they find out that a woman named Pam Bodcher picked up Ruby Franke's daughter from work. Pam Bodcher lives in American Fork, Utah. We did a whole video on this, all the body cam footage. It's insane. The police go to Pam Bodcher is also listed as the CEO of Connections on the Connections website, which I think is still up. And they go to Pam Bodcher's house. Her husband answers the door. They ask to see Ruby Franke's daughter. They find out that she's there. The husband is very belligerent. He wants a lawyer. He's like, "What are you doing here?" They get Pam Bodcher out of the house for safety. They handcuff her and put her in the back of a police car. And while they're telling Pam Bodcher that the reason that they're there looking for Ruby Franke's kids is because Ruby Franke's two other kids were found to be severely malnourished, abused, chained up, and found in a safe. And the reaction of Pam Bodcher is like nothing you've ever seen. She looks at him, she goes, "Oh, I thought you were coming here about my kids." There was no shock. There was no surprise. It is bizarre. They find that both older daughters, are at Pam Bodcher's house. They retrieve them both. And I believe that after the dependency court hearing, it's a little unclear, they were allowed to go with Shari Franke, the oldest daughter, who's 21. She's a student at BYU. She has been very, very vocal about this case from the beginning on all of her social media. And when the police showed up to finally arrest Ruby Franke, or came to the home, she posted something on her Instagram that said, "Finally." Nobody has been listening to Shari Franke for years because she believed that her younger siblings were being abused. She got out of the house as soon as she could when she turned 18, and nobody would believe her. There had been several calls to the police. We're going to get into that in a little bit. So here we are today. Ruby Franke got arrested that same day, August 30th of 2023, as did Jodi Hildebrandt. They were taken into custody. They are currently sitting in jail at a facility aptly named Purgatory Correctional Facility in Hurricane, Utah. Like, you cannot make this up. It's like being stuck in the eye of the storm. Purgatory and Hurricane. They are each charged with 6 counts of felony child abuse, being held without bail, and there are no future court hearings set for them. So, very strange, this whole entire thing. Viewers of the 8 Passengers channel have been complaining to YouTube for years. They started a petition to try and get some investigation into what Ruby Franke was going on. I don't know if people actually watched her channel for the content because they thought they were learning something about parenting, or if it was more like a train wreck that they could not stop watching because they were so concerned for the children in the videos. And what makes me so mad about the YouTube thing is that these parents, or this woman, was able to publicly, emotionally, at least emotionally abuse her children on YouTube since 2015 to 2022 for 7 years, and nothing was done about it. And I do a video the other night on the Take Care of Maya trial, going through some motion papers, and the second my 3-hour stream is done, YouTube demonetizes me as being not friendly to advertisers. What's offensive about the Take Care of Maya post-trial motions? I have no idea. But they need to really like take a look at their content rules and make some changes. This is ridiculous. Oh, and that's correct. You are correct. Right. So I forgot about this part. So when the body cam footage from the law enforcement goes to pick the two older daughters up at Pam Botcher's house, Pam says, "Oh yeah, that's right. I had them here to do some cleaning for me because I have some friends coming and they were cleaning. I have them scrubbing my floors," or something like that. The whole thing was just whack, and it was crazy. So Ruby Franke has been in purgatory since August 30th with Jodi Hildebrandt. Since that time, many people have come out, including Jodi Hildebrandt's niece, who has spoken about how Jodi physically abused them for a very, very long time when she was forced to live with Jodi all the way back in, I think it was like 2008. And the niece, whose name is escaping me, right? Jessie, told media that Jodi's right-hand person, who was in charge of watching Jessie while Jessie was locked up and abused by Jodi, was Pam Botcher. So this case is very tangled. It's very deep. And in my opinion, if a proper investigation is done, there's going to be more charges. And we're going to get into that in a minute. So in the interim, there's 3 things going on right now. There's this criminal case against Ruby and Jodi, which is pending in the criminal court in Ivins, Utah. There is the custody case, or the dependency shelter proceeding that's going on in juvenile court. And initially in Utah, the juvenile proceedings are open to the public. So during the first juvenile court shelter hearing, it was leaked by the media, because it was open to the public, that there were certain allegations made by Ruby Franke against one of her children for SAing some other children. That leaked into the press. So after that, the court has since sealed those juvenile proceedings and is not opening it to the public. The only people allowed in these proceedings are family members. So Kevin Franke is fighting for custody of his 4 minor children. So 2 of the children, Chad and Shari, are over the age of 18. They're not involved in that shelter proceeding. The other 4 are 3 girls, 1 boy. His attorney, Randy Kester, has been very, very vocal, too vocal, in my opinion, on behalf of his client. And at the last child welfare hearing, we're going to play what Randy Kester had to say at that hearing. Give me 1 second to pull this up. The audio is not that great, so I may turn it up so I can let you hear, so I can tell you what the reporter questions are. So just let me know that you can hear this. This was the last child welfare hearing that was held on September 18th of 2023.
Is safe. It's not to prosecute parents or guardians. Now, this case involves some sensitive information and children involved. So one of the things that was discussed is whether to close the case to the public. We asked the attorney, Randy Kester, about his thoughts on this process.
Would you prefer this case be closed to the public?
Would you prefer this case be closed to the public?
You know what? As to the adults, I don't think anybody cares. But as to the kids,
He doesn't think the adults care whether or not this is open to the public. The adults meaning his client, Kevin Franke and Ruby. He doesn't think the adults care if this is open to the public? Okay.
I absolutely think these kids have been through a lot. And to have all this media exposure to them individually as little kids who have been manipulated, I think
So he's alleging that the little kids have been manipulated. Okay, manipulated by who?
it's better held privately.
Now, the judge says she understands this case has widespread interest and she wants the court to be transparent. A decision wasn't made yet. Now, there will be another pre-trial date, which is set for October 17th. Before that, there's a mediation on October 11th in Provo.
Okay, and at that next hearing, they actually did close the proceedings to the public. So that has been done. 2 days ago, on the 29th, Kevin Franke filed for divorce. It is important to note that he has not seen his children in 13 months. What I found interesting when I started looking at the Utah grounds for divorce, Utah is a no-fault state, and you can file a no-fault divorce, which basically means that you just say that your marriage is irretrievably broken and or you have irreconcilable differences. And because we can't get a hold of the actual divorce petition, we don't know what the grounds were, if any. But what I found this is not the right slide. Hang on for 1 second. Okay. This is the Utah grounds for divorce. What I found so interesting about this is that in the grounds for divorce, which is here at number 3, here are the grounds, aside from no fault. Impotency of the respondent at the time of the marriage. Adultery committed by the respondent subsequent to the marriage. That's common. Impotency is not a common ground for divorce in any other state that I know of. Willful desertion of the petitioner by the respondent for more than 1 year. But the interesting one that I saw is E, habitual drunkenness of the respondent. So you can use habitual drunkenness of your spouse as a grounds for divorce in Utah. Is this the 1800s? I just find this to be so bizarre. And that is just a little blurb about the grounds for divorce in Utah. I don't think they've used them, but I just thought it was quite odd. Now, when filing the petition for divorce, the court automatically grants this, what's called a domestic relations injunction. And I believe this is automatic. And here's what it says. And this is in the 4th District Court in Provo, I believe. Since then, it's been transferred to American Fork, but I think they are both in the county of Utah. Utah County in the state of Utah. So this is called a domestic relations injunction, and I believe this is filed in every case. And this says, because this matter, in the matter of the marriage of Kevin Franke and Ruby Franke, because this matter involves divorce, annulment, temporary separation, custody, parent time, child support, or paternity, the court makes the following orders. These orders apply to the petitioner and respondent named above. The parties must not harass, intimidate, or disturb the peace of the other party by any means, including electronically. 2, commit domestic violence or abuse against the other party or a child. 3, use the other party's name, likeness, image, or identification to get credit or open an account for service or obtain a service. That is something that could be commonly done if one spouse forges another spouse's name to get a credit card or a loan or something like that, or to sign the house over to themselves. 4, cancel or interfere with telephone, utility, or other services used by the other party. Cancel, modify, terminate, change the beneficiary, or allow to lapse for a voluntary non-payment of premiums without the written consent of the other party, or pursuant to further order of the court, any policy of health insurance, homeowners insurance, renters insurance, automobile insurance, or life insurance. 2, if the petition involves the division of property, personal property, or debts, the parties must not transfer, encumber, conceal, or dispose of your property or the other person's property unless you have the written consent of the other party or you have a court order, except in the usual course of business or to provide the necessities of life. If the petition involves minor children, the parties must not take the children on non-routine travel unless you have the written consent of the other party or you have a court order, or the following information has been provided to the other party: an itinerary of travel dates and destinations, how to contact the children or traveling party, and the names and telephone numbers of an available third person who will know the children's location. This is interesting because during the time that Ruby Franke's children were in Jodi Hildebrandt's house, 4 hours away from the marital home, there was no order in place. They had not filed for a legal separation and or divorce, and Kevin just basically left because, according to his attorney, that's what Ruby and or Jodi told him to do. So were this order in place, Ruby would not have been allowed to take the children to Jodi Hildebrandt's house 4 hours away unless she had notified Kevin. Next, in the presence or hearing of the children, they may not demean or disparage, talk badly about the other party, attempt to influence the children's preference regarding custody or parent time, or say or do anything that would negatively affect the love and affection of the children for the other party or involve the children in the issues of the petition, make parent time arrangements through the children. So this is a basic non-disparagement clause, parental alienation clause. You are not allowed to alienate your soon-to-be ex-spouse to the children, and or you are not allowed to, have the children communicating for you about visitation, about parenting time. And you are not allowed to transfer any assets, squander any marital assets, steal all the money in the bank account. Things that a lot of people do during a divorce, by the way. 4, when the children are under a party's care, the party must use the best efforts to prevent others from doing anything described above, and if necessary, remove the children from the situation. 5, this domestic relations injunction is effective for the petitioner when the petition is filed and for the respondent when they receive a copy of the injunction entered by the court. 6, the domestic relations injunction is in effect until the final decree is entered, the petition is dismissed, the parties otherwise agree in writing, signed by all parties, or the court orders otherwise. 7, a party may ask to modify or dissolve the domestic relations injunction by filing a motion. The motion will be decided as quickly as possible if it's filed before an answer to the petition or other responsive pleading is filed. The moving party must serve the non-moving party at least 48 hours before a hearing. If the motion is filed after a responsive pleading is filed, Utah Rule of Civil Procedure, Rule 7 or Rule 101 apply. 8, if there's another order with conflicting provisions governing the parties or their minor children, the parties must comply with the provisions of the other order. 9, this domestic relations injunction does not apply to the Office of Recovery Services. And there you have it. Pretty common stuff. But at least now there is an order in place with regard to what is allowed to be done and what is not allowed to be done. I'm going to go to the chat and see if anybody has any questions with regard to that. Yes, and protecting his assets. Not sure he even cares about his kids. Strange people. I vote to leave them with Sherry. I don't know if Sherry has the kids or not. There has been conflicting information that at least 2 of the children are in DCFS custody, which is what they call CPS or DCF, Department of Children and Family Services. They may be in foster care. I do not know. They may be in a hospital. I do not know. But I think that this divorce action has been filed as a way to distance himself from Ruby Franke and her actions and her criminal proceeding. She's been in jail for 3 months. It's taken 3 months for him to file for divorce. He did not see his children for 13 months before that. And what I also find interesting is that Kevin Franke might have voluntarily, under the statutes of Utah, relinquished his parental rights, because under the Utah Code, section 78A 6-508, here's the evidence that you need for grounds of termination of parental rights. One, in determining whether a parent or parents have abandoned a child, it is prima facie evidence of abandonment that the parent or parents, A, although having legal custody of the child, have surrendered physical custody of the child, and for a period of 6 months following the surrender have not manifested to the child or to the person having the physical custody of the child a firm intention to resume physical custody or to make arrangements for the care of the child. B, have failed to communicate with the child by mail, telephone, or otherwise for 6 months. C, failed to have shown the normal interest of a natural parent without just cause. And then it says, or have abandoned an infant. So it doesn't need to be all of those things. It needs to be one of those things. I think he's abandoned his children for more than 6 months, and therefore he's SOL, as they say. Hi, DB. Absolutely. The divorce is to protect and distance himself from being charged. Yep, Laura. Oh, wow. Didn't know Utah law. Neither did I until I started digging into this. Hi, Scarlett. Aren't you in school? Aren't you supposed to be paying attention in school? Is it lunchtime? I don't even know what time it is. It's 12 o'clock. Sarah says, wow, this could be a positive thing for Kevin not regaining custody of his children. Yeah, hasn't it? He did abandon his children. Thank you, Ginger Snaps. And thank you, Tina. He did abandon his children. Oh, I'm missing you too, honey. You're in lunch? All right. Make sure you just settle up your lunch account. Oh, thank you, Lucia. Thank you for being a fan. Hello. Hello, all the girls at Scarlet School. Jeanette says, do you believe Jodi knew of this and they could take full control? That's interesting. Bye, Scarlett. I love you too. That's interesting. She may have known about this so that, Ruby could at some point go into court and say, well, he relinquished his parental rights because we haven't seen him in 13 months. He's made no effort to contact the children at all. And he basically just abandoned us. So he should not have any parental rights. Stripping parental rights is something that we also talked about during the Maya case. And we know how devastating that can be to lose your Mormon rights. Your Mormon rights. I was reading a comment. Yeah. Yes, I know. Mormon Stories podcast is amazing. Thank you, Anna. I was in touch with John DeLynn, who is the host of that show. And he did let me use some of his footage of his interview that he did with Jesse. And it was an amazing interview. And I used that a while ago. And he's very, very kind. He's very right, Sarah. Right, Scarlett. Mom's not bringing you lunch. You need to know what it's like to go hungry. You need to know what it's like to go hungry. That's hilarious, Sarah. Everyone's telling you, have a great day. Thank you. Thank you. Well, Naomi, we're going to get into this because next we're going to look at the Utah law with regard to child abuse, and it's very interesting. Okay, so this is the Utah law on relinquishing parental rights. And then it says down here, in determining whether a parent or parents are unfit or have neglected a child, the court shall consider, but is not limited to, the following circumstances, conduct, or conditions: emotional illness, mental illness, or mental deficiency of the parent, conduct toward a child of a physically, emotionally, or sexually cruel or abusive nature, habitual use, that's drugs and alcohol. D, repeated or continuous failure to provide the child with adequate food, clothing, shelter, education, or other care necessary for the child's physical, mental, and emotional health and development by a parent or parents who are capable of providing that care. Well, we know that at least 2 of the children were found to be severely emaciated and malnourished on August 30th of 2023 when Ruby and Jodi were arrested. So did Kevin allow that to happen by his actual abandonment of his children for 13 months? Never checking in on them? Just because Ruby says stay away, you stay away from your children? Does anybody know any father that would do that? His attorney says it was because that was the only hope that he had of getting his family back together. And he's an incredible father. And he's going to fight for custody of his children. Where's he been? Where was he for 13 months? It's been reported that he was living by himself. He made no effort to see his children, to contact his children. And I find that to be reprehensible. Come for me in the comments. Come for me in the comments. Are there any men in the chat that would actually do that? Whether your wife told you to or not? Or in the reverse, is there any mother that would do that? Abandon their 4 minor children to the care of a spouse that you knew was emotionally abusive, at least for 13 months, and not make any effort to contact your children. Thank you, Kirsten, because we're going to get into the free range parenting law in a second. In a second, you worked with a guy that did that, Scott, that just abandoned his kids. Janelle, that's because Ruby ruled the roost. Yeah, maybe. Not a good enough excuse, in my opinion. Not in my opinion. So under the law, he may have already relinquished his parental rights, and it's going to be interesting to see how his attorney tries to get him out of that. It says here, the following circumstances show prima facie indifferent. What? Hold on. This thing was over it. Come back, come back. Following circumstances show prima facie, I think it says prima facie unfitness. I've got a little black thing that's over it that I can't. Okay. The following circumstances constitute prima facie evidence of unfitness. SE, injury or death of a sibling of a child or any child who are known to substantiated abuse or neglect by the parent or parents, conviction of a crime, a single incident of life-threatening or gravely disabling injury to or disfigurement of the child. The next 2 have to do with homicide or causing the death of another parent. I think, in my legal opinion, and my legal opinion only, and I do not practice in Utah, I am a New York admitted attorney, but it seems to me that he has, by every definition of that statute, relinquished his parental rights. And for him to come back now and try and get custody of those children may be very difficult for him. It may be an uphill road. This filing of divorce may be his way of trying to distance himself from Ruby, but how's he going to explain the 13-month, 14-month absence from his children? It's important to note also that the day that Ruby was arrested, he moved back into the Springville home. And then the next day, when Shari went in with a police escort and a caseworker from DCFS to retrieve some items belonging to the children, she took some items from the house, including laptops, phones, journals that Kevin claims were his, and tried to have Shari arrested the next day. We did a video on that as well. And there's body cam footage of the police officer Shari took those items, returned them to the police station, and there's body cam footage of Kevin going to the police station to pick those items up and demanding that they arrest her on burglary charges, his own daughter, by the way, who had every right to be in that house, by the way. She was with a police officer and a DCFS worker. Do you think those things were really his? He'd been out of the house for 14 months. Or do you think they were evidence showing that he may have been involved in some of this stuff? What say you? Oh, thanks, Debbie, for becoming a new member. Thank you, Irene, for your super sticker. I appreciate you. And thanks, Dave. Even if I didn't like my kids, I'd still step up. I think you would like your kids. I mean, you must not have any kids if you would make a comment like that, but I'm sure no matter what, you would like. You may not like other people's kids, but you would like your own kids no matter what. Thank you for your super chat. Sarah, in my opinion, I do not think blaming it all on Ruby and Jodi is going to work for him well in court, considering he's a grown man and a father. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you, Mystique. That I quickly turned into one of your favorite channels. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And thank you for being a member for only 1 month. My membership is called Melanie's Little Cupcakes, a little play on words because my logo here is I am not a cupcake. And that pink sign back there that you can't read says, it's my daily reminder, you can't make everyone happy. You are not a cupcake. You may not agree with my opinions, but I'm still going to tell them to you. And I can't make everybody happy. I'm not a cupcake. But my members are called My Little Cupcakes because we can make each other happy. And this is a fun place to be. Run the world. Hello. I wonder if Kevin is trying to mend his relationship with Shari as a manipulative tactic. Yeah. Shari, it's pronounced hurricane. Hurricane? Oh, really? Because Brian Schnee, who's my favorite reporter from Salt Lake City, KUTV, he said it was called hurricane. All right, if it's hurricane, it's hurricane, but it's still called purgatory, and it's still like being stuck in the eye of the storm. I made up that phrase. Cece, this is Utah, and they make legal decisions based on some things we would find odd. Raggedy Hobo, Kevin has been emasculated. Let's face it. You may be correct. However, I don't think that's a legal excuse for abandoning your children. Thanks, Kel. Cupcake leader here. Cat lady, yep. Imagine how much cut tape there is from these videos. That is what I find so interesting. Dave, wouldn't surprise me if Ruby or Jodi is orchestrating this whole divorce thing, but no, he's the one who filed. She's not the one who filed. He filed. They may have wanted it, but in the end, I think he's doing it to distance himself from all of these child abuse allegations. That's what I think. KJN, even if the younger kids are in the state's custody, I'm sure Shari is still involved in their lives. I hope so. I hope so. She's been trying to get those children out of there for a very, very long time. A very long time. And here is something else that I found that I thought was interesting. 5 days before her arrest, Ruby Franke was pulled over for speeding in Ivins, Utah at 4:17 a.m. We have body cam footage of that. So let's take a look at it because my favorite reporter from Salt Lake, Brian Schnee, did a story on this, and he's my go-to source on this because he gets the info. He does all of the FOIL requests to get the info. He's the man. And I hope this catapults his career to the next level because he's amazing. So take a look at this body cam footage of Ruby Franke being pulled over for doing, I think she was doing, I think the cop's going to say, but I think she's doing like 57 and a 35 at 4:17 a.m. with two, what we think are children in the car near Ivins, which is where Jodi Hildebrandt's house is, where her children were found to be emaciated and tortured 5 days later. Here's Brian Schnee.
Hello. You know how fast you're going right there? No. Okay. Got you going 57 and a 35. I'll be back real quick. Okay. Here's your info back. A citation for speed. Got you going 57 and a 35. I wrote you down for a 50. You have 5 days and no more than 14 to contact Santa Clara Justice Court. It shows right there in that little box right there. And then just have the phone number right there. Okay, have any questions for me? Okay, just slow down for me, please. Thank you.
So this happened on August 25th, just after 4 in the morning. While the video doesn't show a whole lot, it does show 2 other people in the car with her early that morning. Their faces were redacted, but they do appear to be either children or young adults. Franke's traffic case was dismissed in Santa Clara Justice Court earlier this week. So where do things stand now on the child abuse case? Both Franke and Jodi Hildebrandt remain in custody in Purgatory Correctional Facility in Hurricane. No new court filings have been put forth, no new hearings scheduled. Of course, we'll keep an eye on this one for you.
YouTuber Ruby Franke in a southern Utah.
So there you have it. The Santa Clara judge dismissed that speeding charge because of the pending criminal charges. I guess they just thought, why lock her up for speeding or even give her a fine because she's in jail anyway, and they're hoping to make better progress on those charges. So nothing good happens at 4 a.m. That's hilarious because I say that all the time, except I say nothing good happens after midnight. I can't even find that comment because the chat is moving so quickly. Yeah, Sarah, it is weird that she was driving some of her. What the hell was she doing at 4:17 a.m.? Team Brittany, hi. I'm guessing her excuse isn't she was rushing to take lunch to someone at school. Nope. I don't think so. Yep, Mystique. OMG. Dave, again, says we knew she was a reckless driver. She used to vlog while driving. Yes, I couldn't believe that either. I mean, that alone. Sarah says she was at a rave clearly at 4 a.m. Kaylin, there it is. Nothing good happens at 4 a.m. What was she doing with her kids in the car at 4:17 a.m.? Hi, Naomi. I don't know because as far as I know, the 14 and 16-year-old girls were in Springville, which is 4 hours away, unless she had them with her then. Laura says, yeah, not only food deprivation, but she adds sleep deprivation. Yeah, that's insanity to me. Hello, Karen. I generally agree and support you, but on this occasion, I really don't think judging a situation where there is a particularly manipulative counselor who advised him to keep away is appropriate. It's just my opinion. It's my opinion. You know, I would not take the advice of some shyster who told me to stay away from my children. Her license had been suspended in the state of Utah for some other allegations for 18 months for a period of time when she had breached patient, patient, doctor, therapist privilege by reporting one of her patients to Mormon elders and telling them that he had an alleged addiction to pornography. So, and now she surrendered her license, her mental health counselor license in the state of Utah during the time that she's been in prison. So I'm not judging him. I am judging him. I am. I would never do that. And I would never take some shyster's counselor's advice to stay away from nothing would keep me away from my children. Nothing. Does anybody agree that if a therapist told you to stay away from your children, that you would stay away from them? Father's a weak person, says Sunshine in Arizona. DB, when the public was outraged by the behavior of 8 passengers, Kevin was firmly and happily in the home. Cat Lady and Jodi put Adam, a victim of SA, in a group of abusers. Yeah. She would often put young boys into groups of men who were addicted to pee, as we say on YouTube. And one of the kids came out and said he didn't even know what that was. And he's in this men's group of these men talking about their addiction to pee. And he's like, I don't even know what that is. So yeah, Sarah, unless there was a court order saying you couldn't see your kids, but that would be in such limited circumstances. Brittany says, nothing would keep me away from my children. Irene says the same thing. No way would anybody keep me from my kids. Eileen says, agree. 100%, Melanie. Skoda, he's culpable. Rochella, thank you for being an amazing moderator. He should have hired a lawyer to get access to his children. Yeah, but he did nothing. He did nothing. He just stayed away for 13 months. What was he doing for 13 months? Did he have a girlfriend? I mean, really, what was he doing? Shyster is that's one of my favorite words. Yeah. Yes, Janelle. Jodi's like the dark force in Maya's room. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Precocent. Be sure to click the like button. Sarah says she's ruined life for 2 decades. Yep. Skoda would get a new therapist. AJ, honey, I think thinking foolish of Kevin to sue for divorce, but then as his attacking, he is spiteful, not clever. And Vroom says, totally agree. Nothing between me and getting to someone I loved and was responsible for, and they needed me. For example, even that nursing home pandemic stuff wouldn't have stopped me. Ray says, I think all the adults have some responsibility. Being manipulated isn't an excuse for this. While we don't know what happened, his behavior towards Shari says a lot. Yeah, the fact that he wanted to have his daughter arrested, that just makes me think that there was some kind of evidence on those devices that would implicate him in something. I'm not implicating him in anything. Innocent until proven guilty. However, you threaten to have your own child arrested for removing things that the kids may have needed. She didn't know. She hadn't been in the house in a long time. She took laptops and phones. She thought maybe they were the kids and turned them over to the police. Whether there was a warrant or not, she had a police officer with her when she took those things. And then he wants to have her arrested on burglary charges? I find that to be super duper curious. What I also find to be curious is that numerous times over the years, the Springville police had responded to welfare checks and calls to the Franke home in Springville. On April 16th of 2022, a caseworker from the DCFS alerted authorities to 2 unsupervised children that were running around in the street near the Franke home. Apparently, the caseworker had an officer drive out to the area, but he didn't see any children running in the street when he arrived, according to police documents, so nothing was done. And then again, and this is just 2 examples, on September 18th of 2022, Shari Franke called and asked for a welfare check. She told police that her sisters and her brother had been left in the house alone for 5 days while her mother went to visit a friend in St. George. She wanted the officers to go check on the kids, make sure they had enough food for this long period of time. And when the officers arrived at the home, the children would not answer the front door. Neighbors told the police that Ruby would often leave the children home alone. Says that police left the area after an hour or 2, and the neighbor who spoke with the Salt Lake Tribune said some other things regarding the Franke family. She said that after that call to the police and the response by the police, that the home's blinds were always closed and what appeared to be paper was taped over the windows so nobody could see inside. This neighbor, who is unnamed, said that she also spoke separately with DCFS 2 times in 2022 about the Franke children because she was concerned that they were being left home alone for long periods of time, and she did not know if they had access to food and care. And this is where the free-range parenting law in Utah comes in. In 2018, Utah was the first state to sign into law a free-range parenting statute. And it's a little bit unclear, but let me see Did I put that into my slide? Yeah, I did. Free range sounds like cattle. Yeah, or chicken. Yeah, cat lady. They knew the children were in the house. They didn't kick the door in. Scott, is it normal not to kick the door in if the kids could be in danger? It may be based on this free range parenting law. Maybe they're not allowed to. And that's what makes these cases even harder to prosecute because of this free range parenting law. I don't know if any other states have adopted it, but it's a little bit crazy. Not the free range parenting. Yep. It's like free range chicken. Sometimes they serve free range chicken in restaurants. But here, my friends, is the child abuse statute amended in 2018 in Utah. This is the free range child abuse statute. Wait, no, that's the wrong one. Hold on. Time out. Time out. All right. I need to find it, but give me 1 second. Talk amongst yourselves for a minute. Well, while we're at it, I did find a picture of the Franke home, so take a look at this for a second. Apparently, YouTube does pay pretty well if you've got, 2 million subscribers. I don't know, it just disappears when I try and put it up, so I guess we can't see it right now. So in March of 2018, the governor, who I don't know if he's still the governor, but his name is Gary Herbert, signed a bill that makes it okay for parents to let their children, quote, free range. At the time, it was believed to be the first state in the nation to pass such a law. The measure essentially changes the state's legal definition of neglect, meaning parents won't be prosecuted for letting their children of appropriate age do things like walk to school by themselves, go to the store alone, play outside unsupervised, sit in a vehicle alone, or stay at home by themselves. The lawmaker who sponsored the legislation, Republican State Senator Lincoln Fillmore, he's named after 2 presidents, said he wanted to keep police and state agencies from arresting parents for things like letting their kids walk to school unaccompanied. He said, it's not neglect if you let your child experience childhood. The message is you need to protect your kids, but we're not doing kids any favors if we shelter them to the point where they are not learning how to function. The bill, however, does not define what the appropriate age is for children to be on their own. This free-range parenting movement is said to be a pushback on helicopter parenting, the idea that kids need to be supervised at all times. What say you, my friends? What say you? People are saying this is why the police and the DCFS could not be required to bang the door down, because I guess in 2022, when these allegations were made, when Shari Franke called for the welfare check, the 2 oldest daughters would have been 15 and 13, and there's no No specification in the law about how old the kids need to be. Jermaine, thank you for your super chat. When I was in the military, I didn't get to see my daughter until she was 6 months old. It sucked not getting to see her. Yes. Well, thank you for your service. First of all, thank you so much for your service. And yeah, that must have been heartbreaking. So your daughter was born while you were away, and then the first time you saw her was when she was 6 months, and that must have been heartbreaking, not being able to see all of her first milestones. And yeah, nobody could keep you away from her, right? And Mystique, thank you again. And Dave says, yeah, remember, food is a privilege. Yes, it was. Ruby often withheld food from her children as punishment, and she was very, very open and verbal about that in her YouTube videos. There was one video that I saw where she made her children get in line and they shared one banana. Each child could have a bite of the banana, and then they had to go to the end of the line. Thank you, Dave, for your super chat. Thank you to Joanne for becoming a new member. I appreciate you. There were also videos where she would say that the kids were not allowed to eat breakfast until they did their chores. And they did a lot of cleaning in that house. And they also apparently did a lot of cleaning at Pam Bodcher's house. Now, I have another question for you. And that question is, can Kevin be brought up on criminal charges? Well, let's take a look at the Utah child abuse statute. And here's what it says. According to Utah Code Section 75-5-109, I got the receipts right here. And it says, as used in this section, physical injury, the definition of physical injury, means an injury to or condition of a child which impairs the physical condition of the child, including a bruise or other contusion of the skin, a minor laceration or abrasion, failure to thrive or malnutrition, or any other condition which imperils the child's health or welfare and that is not a serious physical injury. It only needs to be one of those categories, and I can see at least all of them after the condition in which the two youngest children were found. And there may have been proof of that during some of these 8 passengers videos. And who knows what was on those laptops and phones and journals that were seized from the home and then given back to him. Serious physical injury means any physical injury or set of injuries that, 1, seriously impairs the child's health, 2, involves physical torture, 3, causes serious emotional harm to the child or involves a substantial risk of death to the child. Could it be argued that serious emotional harm to the children was inflicted by Kevin during the course of the 8 Passengers channel from 2015 to 2022, and it's actually on video? We can also get down to here where it says serious physical injury, again, includes any conduct toward a child that results in severe emotional trauma, severe developmental delay or intellectual disability, or severe impairment of the child's ability to function. Any conduct that results in starvation or failure to thrive or malnutrition that jeopardizes the child's life. Section 2, an actor commits the child abuse if the actor inflicts upon a child such injury, or having the care or custody of such child causes or permits another to inflict physical injury upon a child. Could it be argued that he permitted this to happen by abandoning his children for 13 months? While he did not live in the home, there was no pending divorce action that did not allow him to have custody of the children. So he still was a custodial parent under the law. Then says that a violation of section 2 is a Class A misdemeanor if done intentionally or knowingly, a Class B misdemeanor if done recklessly, or a Class C misdemeanor if done with criminal negligence. What say you, my friends? What say you? Let's go to the chat. Seashell wonders if child labor laws apply in cleaning a neighbor's home. That I do not know. Skoda says, I can't wait until her videos come into the trial. She snitched on herself, but is too delusional to see it. Self-snitching. Anybody watch Bruce Rivers? Love that guy. Criminal lawyer reacts. It's all about self-snitching, and he does videos of people who self-snitch, and he teaches a lot about self-snitching and don't do it, and he's very funny. Yeah, Bruce Rivers, exactly. He's so funny. And to me, any parent who violates the safe place nature of a child's home space by broadcasting it via any social media platform is abusing them, totally undermines the children's rightful privacy. Yes. Yes, you know why? Because children do not have the legal authority to consent to any of that. And I believe Illinois has been the first to enact a law against exploiting your children on social media, because children cannot consent to that. These children had cameras shoved in their faces since one of them was a baby. And everything was on camera. There's even a video that we looked at where Ruby said to the kid, one of the children, and I can't remember which one, oh, what happened? What are you upset about? And the child's crying in bed. And she's like, can you please turn off the camera? And Ruby's like, no, you have to say it to the camera. You have to say it to the camera. It's horrifying. Rainbow Rising. Kevin has also been written about by his students of abuse, something I heard Lauren and John read in one of their videos, Hidden to Crime. Don't trust Kevin either. We went over his Rate My Professor ratings on another live stream, and you're right. There were some reviews in there that said things like that. Amy, hi, Amy in Boston. It's been a while. Lori Daybell 2.0. Yes, except these children, it could have turned into that type of situation if this young boy did not have the guts and the will to escape and save himself and his sister. We could absolutely be looking at another Lori Daybell situation. DB, looks like Kevin hit the grand slam of potential charges. Sinaloa tacos, child exploitation, child labor, child neglect, the list goes on and on. It does. It does. And I don't know why his attorney is out there talking up a storm to the media. We've looked at other videos before. Moved right back into the family house without any of the children, by the way. Yep. And this is also true, Cat Lady. Also true. Ruby flat out said that any money she made is hers and not Kevin's, not for the kids, and the kids have to be out of the house by 18. Yep. And you know what happened to Shari? The second she moved out of the house, they drained her bank account. They took her money. Hi, Nina. Do you think when kids are of age, they should have a choice regarding public content their parents posted of them? Generally speaking, yeah, I do. I think once you're 18, maybe, I mean, I don't think it should be allowed at all, but when you turn 18, I think you could absolutely perhaps petition the court to force social media channels to take stuff down. But again, it's out there forever. You know, like I tell my kids, just because you delete something off of the internet or off of your socials doesn't mean it's gone. The internet is forever. And says people who would react if some creep in a public place was staring at their children, nonetheless put their children up for public display on these social media platforms. It's deranged. I agree with you. It's deranged. And the fact that the YouTube rules are so bizarre that I can't talk about the post-trial motions in the Maya case without using any words like K or all of those other words that we can't use. Unaliving. And that gets demonetized as not being advertiser-friendly content. And yet this stuff was making this family millions and millions, or at least the parents, millions and millions of dollars. What is going on here? Somebody please explain it to me, because I do feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone right now. I don't know if the sisters have said anything about this divorce being filed, but this says a lot to me. Hi, Dawn. This is very suspicious right there. That is way too much info. Why would they care what you ate to ice cream and you have them scrubbing the floors? Oh, that's right. Pam Botcher said, I took them for ice cream. I took them for ice cream, and then had zero reaction when the police officer said to her, oh, well, do you know why we're here? The reason why we're here is because we found 2 children of your friend locked in a safe, severely malnourished, and chained to the floor. Are Jodi and Ruby separated at the Purgatory Jail? Yes, I think they are allowed no contact, so they cannot change their story, get their story straight. I'm not sure, but there's no future court dates in the court computer. They are being held there indefinitely, and I don't know what's going on with that, but nothing is happening so far. Both of them have been in and out of the medical ward at the prison, at the jail, and we're not sure what for. Naomi, do you think Ruby called Kevin before she got arrested so the police could not find them? Ruby did call Kevin when she got arrested. She also called Pam and asked Pam to go pick up the girls. But what's interesting about that is that Pam does not tell that to the police. Pam doesn't say, oh, Ruby called and said, can I get the girls? She said, I picked her up from work and they were coming to my house to clean because I'm having some friends come from South America or somewhere. I can't remember. Right, Jeanette. Then the case is out of the public eye for the first time for these kids. When the kids get justice, no one will know if they really get justice either. Nope. And you heard what Randy Kester said, whether he thought they should be open to the public. And he said, well, for the adults, I don't think anybody really cares. But, let's protect the kids. Let's protect the kids now. 8 years later, after publicly humiliating them and abusing them on YouTube. Now let's protect the kids now, after his client abandoned his kids and didn't see them for 14 months. Let's do that. Sorry, but it makes me mad. It makes me mad. YouTube has become insane with what they chose to censor and not censor. Yep. It's insane. Anna said, in my opinion, they infringe their children's human rights since forever. Withholding food or the sense of safety is criminal. Yep. I agree. And some people have said, oh, but I think it would be so much better if you had custody of the kids because it's always better that they're with a parent than in foster care. And there's some merit to that. But if we look at the receipts and all the videos that he was involved in, he was not involved with that channel. He was involved with that channel. He was sitting there while she was making those videos. He was making them too. So how is he innocent in all of this? Did he know or should have known what was going on with the 2 youngest that were found locked in Jodi Hildebrandt's house, chained and handcuffed? Some reports say that they had wounds down to the bone on their ankles and wrists, and that Jodi used a mixture of cayenne pepper and honey to dress those wounds and then covered them in duct tape. Let that sink in if you haven't heard that before, because that is horrific. And then I had people coming into the comments saying, well, cayenne pepper is used often in wounds. I don't know. Can you imagine how painful that must have been to put cayenne pepper mixed with honey on open wounds and then cover them in duct tape? I don't want to hear about the healing properties of cayenne pepper. I really don't. Because to me, that is torture. Torture. What that says to me when they found evidence of those things in Jodi Hildebrandt's house is that they didn't want to get them any medical attention. They wanted to try and take care of these wounds by themselves. Kevin is part of the abuse, says Sinaloa Tacos. Team Brittany, my son just said you're so pretty. Oh, thank you to your son. That is a very sweet compliment. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sinaloa Tacos. No, pepper isn't used like that, you fools. No. Oh, they were schooling me on ancient medicine and how cayenne pepper has all these healing properties, and I don't think it's supposed to be used on open wounds that are down to the bone. Call me crazy. Hi, Jerry. How are you? It's been a while. I started watching YouTube because I don't like anything on cable. YouTube is becoming worse than Facebook with their censorship. Thank you, Anna MD. If you are a real doctor, not included in the best practices in treating wounds. Yeah, I would agree with you, and I'm not a doctor. I'm just a doctor of law. Juris Doctor means doctor of law. That's the degree you get when you become an attorney. I don't know why lawyers aren't called doctor then. Just Esquire. And if you're like Shapiro, you spell the whole word out. You don't just use ESQ. And it says duct tape is a beast to rip off skin. Yes, it certainly is. It certainly is. Becky says, forget the pepper. The tape on their wounds is crazy. Oh yeah, and the honey, right? Because the honey wouldn't it make the tape the tape stick even worse and then hurt even more when you take it off or rip it off? Tina says you can rub a small amount of cayenne pepper cream onto intact skin over an aching joint, not an open wounds. You are also a medical doctor. Thank you, Tina. Thank you for that medical opinion. Thank you for making me know that I am not crazy or in the twilight zone. So that would be over a joint. Cayenne pepper might be good if you have arthritis, perhaps, but not over an open, gaping wound down to the bone caused by handcuffs and rope. I'm just going to use common sense on that one, but Tina gave me her medical opinion, and I'm going to go with that. Erica says Kevin's just as guilty as Ruby, definitely, for allowing it to go on. And Truth Seeker is bringing us all back to earth by saying the wounds should not have been there in the first place. 100%. 100%. Dawn says Kevin's attorney is trying to pump up for his client because it's fully aware that Kevin was living in the same home and about some of the mental abuse going on, and he was part of that. That's a good argument, and I'm going to say that I agree with you. Team Brittany says, hello, my dear. Let's take the pepper out of the equation. They are still chained to the floor. Duh, people, I know. And I was like, during that video, when I started getting all of those comments about how cayenne pepper was really good, I thought, is that really your biggest takeaway from this? Is that what you want to leave a comment about? Is the cayenne pepper? That's the thing that triggered you the most about this video? It is torture, says Jacqueline. And yes, you are correct. I'm not in the twilight zone, you guys, right? Thank you. Thank you for bringing me down to earth, because sometimes I need it. Hi, Tina. On U.S. military bases, under 10 can't be left alone. And that's the law in a lot of states, you know? I mean, there's laws about when your kid can sit in the front seat. And Utah is how backwards is that? I don't know what their alcohol laws are now, but I know that in college, when I used to go to Utah all the time to go to ski in Park City, that you could not buy alcohol unless it was in a state liquor store, which had very restrictive hours. You could not drink in a bar or a restaurant unless you were a member of that bar or restaurant. So as a visitor to the state of Utah, you had to go into the bar, ask someone sitting at the bar if they'd be willing to sponsor you as a member, pay something like a $20 fee to become a member so that you could order a drink. So the alcohol laws are backwards, but hey, leave your kids alone at whatever age we don't even put into the law. Leave them in a hot car. I mean, it's just, it seems to me that this is not something, and this is just became law in 2018. So it's a new law But prior to this, the laws of Utah were archaic. They still have on the books that you can have drunkenness as a grounds for divorce. Anybody here from Utah want to tell me what they think? Galen says it just makes my skin crawl. Oh, Scott, there's been a few movies over the last few years with cayenne pepper and duct tape being used for wounds. Bet they imitated what they saw. What? Horror movies? Are you being facetious or is that like real? And do you think the children have had guardians ad litem appointed for them who can intervene in the divorce proceedings about custody? Yes, they have. They have. Shari also has her own lawyer. This is all the stuff that's going on in the dependency court that has since been sealed to the public. It's been closed. Nobody's allowed to go into those hearings unless they are part of the family. Just looking at my notes to see if there's anything else that I wanted to share with you because this has been quite a lot. Oh, yeah, there is one more thing. There's one more thing because Kevin Franke is now trying to do something good. I don't know if this is for his public image or what this is for, but just give me 2 seconds to try and find this video. Kevin, he's asking the Utah Senate to change the law with regard to life coaches. Let's take a look. This just broke, I think. I kicked myself out again. I need to just use like an external mouse instead of this mouse pad, but I'm back. Sometimes I swipe to get something over to the big screen over here, and then it swipes me out of StreamYard. And then I lose you for a second, but because I have the background up, it's I come back. So I'm back. And you can see me now. I can see that you can see me now. Okay, so this was posted 3 days ago by our friend Brian Schnee at KUTV. And this is also his story. This guy, I'm telling you, he's going to catapult to journalistic stardom, in my opinion. Kevin Franke is trying to do something to rehabilitate his public image. And here's what it is. Here's what it is that he has chosen to do.
New at 6 tonight, one Utah lawmaker believes more needs to be done to oversee life coaches all across the state of Utah. It comes as the child abuse case against Ruby Franke and Jodi Hildebrandt continues in court. It is our top story tonight on 2 News at 6. I'm Heidi Hatch.
And I'm Brian Schnee. State Senator David Hinkins says Ruby Franke's own husband asked him to heighten restrictions on these coaches. The state senator says people all over the country are giving out bad advice to their clients, and he questions if many of these coaches are qualified to advise anyone at all.
Paul Nelson is joining us live tonight from the state capitol. And Paul, what started all of this?
Well, according to Senator David Hinkins, it was Ruby Franke's estranged husband, Kevin, who asked him to look into the qualification that it takes to become a life coach in Utah. As it turns out, there are no qualifications, and he believes that bad advice from unqualified coaches have been ruining families for a long time.
If you look on the Connections Classroom website, you'll see accused child abuser Ruby Franke described as a, quote, certified mental fitness trainer.
It's just a title that somebody can make up and makes it sound professional when it's really probably not.
There are some companies that sell online courses for what they call mental health fitness training, but District 26 Senator David Hinkins says Franke was allowed to use that title whether she took the courses or not.
I don't think there's anything that stops her from saying that. And I don't know that she's had any background training to be that.
Former clients have been coming forward since Franke and Connection's founder, Jodi Hildebrandt, were arrested on allegations of child abuse. One former client, Trey Warner, told KUTV back in September that Connections would use shaming tactics to pit family members against each other.
It started to feel more and more evil. And I finally, in one of the group meetings, I got up and I just said, this is off.
Officials from the Utah Division of Professional Licensing sent a text saying, quote, "We do see some complaints that are against life coaches who are former licensed behavioral health practitioners who lost the license and are now practicing as life coaches." The text also said, quote, "Life coaches are not required to be licensed in Utah. Therefore, there are no standards for the industry," end quote.
I think that those that are professing to be life coaches should have some type of a criteria that they need to some credibility.
Now, according to Doppel officials, some of these life coaches are actually very good at their job. However, there is a shortage of licensed mental health practitioners in Utah, which might be one of the reasons why so many people are turning to life coaches in the first place. Reporting live, Paul Nelson, KUTV 2 News.
Is it just me, or should Kevin Franke maybe he should be spending his time on some more important pursuits? Just me, just my opinion. Come for me in the comments. I have merch that says that. Come for me. Kirsten, I don't know. How can you be certified in something with no qualifications? I don't know. It's important to note that Jodi Hildebrandt was a licensed mental health counselor. She has since surrendered her license to the professional board in the state of Utah voluntarily. So good, I guess. Good. Gee, Liz, no surprise there. Jeanette, ruining families? Oh, so he really thinks he is one of us, looking in with horror, but he was spending the monies while they were on YouTube. Yeah, so he's saying that his soon-to-be ex-wife was a, quote, life coach, and she did so many bad things that they should now regulate who can be a life coach because of his wife. Complete frauds, everyone paid for. No, Jodi actually was using her license because she got it back. She got it back. She was still being referred patients by the Mormon church elders and the bishops, and she still had patients coming. And the Mormon church paid for a lot of that therapy. Come for me in the comments, people. Come for me in the comments. It's true. Jessie Hildebrandt worked in the billing office. She saw the bills. She saw who was paying them. She was on the referral list for the church. Come for me in the comments. Liz says he's a hypocrite. Therese says he worked for Jodi also. Did he? That's interesting. Becky says, if you have a suggestion to remove your wife and children for over a year, wouldn't a bell go off? Yeah, I think. Would for me. Hi, Mystery, who's calling in from Utah or coming in from Utah. He was a professor and he lost his job because of Jodi. Was it because of Jodi? Or because he had so many complaints from students? I'm not sure. I can't verify that, but you did have an interesting comment here about what's going on in Utah right now with the alcohol laws. If I can, here you are. Mystery says, hi, all waving from Utah. Nowadays, it's just some bars require memberships. The Westerner have since dropped that membership requirement. Alcohol is not 100 proof either, like it is in other states. Yeah, so in some ways, they're very behind the times. And then they're the first state to enact this law regarding free-range parenting. So I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments. I like respectful debate. I like to read the comments and respond to them, and I will do my best to do so. Thank you to, Jacqueline, there are so many videos of Kevin involved in the abuse. Where is the damn police using common sense to charge him with involvement? He did work for Jodi and he's in videos with Connections. That is 100% right. Thank you, Joanne Byer, for your super sticker. I appreciate you all so much. Jamie Johnson, as an ex-Mormon, says the LDS Church is a brainwashing cult. And yes, I live in Utah. Okay. I'm not going to say that, but you can say that. They come for me for that too. I am not saying that the Jesus Christ Church of Latter-day Saints condones CA in any way, shape, or form. I am not saying that whatsoever. But it is a fact that they did refer patients to Jodi Hildebrandt. I find that to be sus. Oh, Scott has a good point here. Oh, thank you, Dawn, for your super sticker. I appreciate you so much. Scott says they may have already spoken to Kevin and he may have flipped on her. I wonder if they gave him a deal. Interesting. Girl in the desert, ex-Mormon here. You are not allowed in Utah to have alcohol visible when walking in any establishment. Really? So even if you are going to the ladies' room or to another table, you are not allowed to bring your beer with you? You have to be sitting down to drink it. That's really interesting. Still, huh? That is really interesting. Jamie's like, I'll say it every day. What? Sarah, this is a good point. Whomever the church did not want married, they sent to Jodi. She took care of the rest. She did break up a lot of marriages. A lot of people are coming out talking about it. A lot of people are coming out talking about it. That's a recipe for disaster. Yep. Therese, there are videos where he was in the videos leading the class about marriage. Kevin was? He always says he was in some connection videos. Yep. Truth Seeker says, I totally agree with Jade. In that case, the parents become accountable for the choice of coaches. Definitely children must be protected. Yep. Sarah says, Jodi has destroyed so many people's lives. Well, now she's in purgatory, so hopefully she won't be able to do that anymore. But we'll see. Let me know if you think criminal charges should or can be brought against Kevin Franke based on the law that I just read you that is existing currently in Utah. And anything else that you have thoughts about. I'm happy to read your comments. And thank you to my amazing moderators for keeping that chat classy today. We did not seem to have anybody spewing any foul language, derogatory comments, or attacking anybody. And if we did, you blocked them or timed them out immediately. And I thank you for that. My mods are the best on YouTube, and I'm not afraid to say it, as are my subscribers, viewers, and channel members. So thank you to all of you as well. Please like and share the video if you so desire. It's free to subscribe. Just hit the subscribe button below and make sure you hit the bell so you get all notifications when I go live, because I also often go live on a whim, and I don't always schedule them, days in advance. And sometimes I just get upset about something or mad about something, or there's breaking news and I go on. And if you have the bell set to all notifications, you will get a notification. Did I forget to thank anybody? Scarlett packs her own lunch. Nope, she doesn't. She buys lunch every day. All right, my friends, thank you so much. Remember, be cool, be kind, be classy. It is so not hard to do. Have an amazing weekend, and I'm sure I will see you before the weekend is over. Peace out.